I always found this topic pretty weird. Think about it. A farmer goes out to tend his livestock, but finds that one of them is missing. He goes out to the field to look for his cattle, only to discover the poor creature is dead. In most cases, parts of the cattle have flesh stripped right to the bone, gaping wounds that look as if they were cut open with surgical equipment, and little to no blood was found in the area. Sometimes body parts are reported missing, even internal organs. In the 70s, quite a few of these cattle mutilations were believed to be done by Satan worshippers for their occult practices, but there is no solid evidence of that. As a kid, I remember hearing about this on the news. It freaked me out then, but not so much now. That is, until I started doing some research. This is still happening, and in other parts of the world as well. Turns out Australia has had to deal with these mysterious cattle mutilations.
Usually the tongue taken out and various mutations from that, but the carcass itself was quite complete and no blood. No, if the other was taken out, there was no blood whatsoever.
And in 2001, the Penang district of Indonesia, at least 200 goats were found dead. They were reportedly torn to pieces and their hearts were missing. Many in the area believe that a supernatural being that resembles a bright light is responsible. Many witnesses claim that they saw such a light before the dead goats were found. Now, the earliest known account of mass cattle slaughter was back in 1606 in London, when a large number of sheep were found dead, and many believe it is still happening to this day. So who or what is responsible? There are several different explanations for these mutilations, depending on who you talk to. The Chupacabra. I probably could do a video just on this creature all by itself. The word Chupacabra literally translates to goat sucker. It all started in 1995 when in Puerto Rico 8 sheep were found dead. Supposedly they were completely drained of all their blood. The only wounds that could be found were 3 puncture holes in the animal's chest. An eyewitness claimed to have seen this creature, and the description she gave struck a remarkable resemblance to something else. This is Syl from the movie Species, and it was released in 1995. The witness admitted that she watched the movie before she saw whatever she believed she saw. There had been many reports of livestock and pets being found dead at that time, and it's quite possible the creature from the movie helped fan the flames of her overactive imagination. Some people claim that the Chupacabra looks like a lizard that stands mainly on its back legs, while others believe it looks more like a dog, hairless and with a pronounced bony ridge along its spine. It's very possible, more likely probable, that they are describing a wild dog, not a Chupacabra. Aliens. So this, for quite a few people, is the obvious explanation. Aliens have been coming down to Earth and removing body parts from various types of livestock to experiment on them. What exactly these experiments are for, no one knows for sure. A survey was sent out to veterinarians who specifically deal with livestock in an attempt to find out which part of the livestock was damaged or removed the most. Out of the 3,849 that were sent, only 189 were filled out. The most common reasons for declining to participate were ranchers didn't bother to report the death, the remains of the livestock were found well after death, so decomposition would make things difficult to find out the cause, or the veterinarian didn't want to get involved as something like this could possibly ruin their reputation. So, going by the 189 people who took the survey, it would appear that these experiments that the aliens are performing, well, they require cattle anus. Lots and lots of cattle anus. And certain parts of the female anatomy as well. Now, 76% is a big chunk, Keep in mind that roughly only 5% of the surveys were completed, but still, this makes me wonder, why would an intelligent alien being travel across space to another planet just to remove the anus from cattle? It's true that other parts of different livestock were reported to be missing, but not as much as these two. Even more terrifying is this incident. 1988 in Brazil, a body of a man was found in the Guaraparanga Reservoir. The injuries he sustained were severe and disturbing. He was missing his left ear and left eye. Part of his jaw was removed. He had holes cut into his body in many places. Many organs were missing, however, there were no incisions. It's believed that a vacuum-type device was used, and perhaps that was what the circular cuts were from. Even worse still, the entire rectum tract was removed. This form of mutilation is being compared to an apple having its core removed. It is eerily similar to the injuries of the various cattle found around the world. Makes you wonder. Many ranchers have reported seeing what they believe to be bright lights or orbs flying in their fields just before they discovered their dead livestock. I'm not saying that they're lying, but without actual proof, I don't buy it. I'm sure aliens have better things to do than kill cows for their anus. Government experiments. There are quite a few people who believe that the cattle mutilations are being done by the government. Some sort of live test experiment. Possibly by doing chemical testing. This farmer in Cache County, Utah shows evidence that looks like one of his cows was punctured by a large gauge syringe. There were no traces of any chemical in its system, however. Here, 2 puncture wounds are visible on a different cow's udder. These look like they may have been caused by another animal, though. Or they might be testing experimental weapons of some kind. Here we have a cow with a burn mark, blackened and scabbed, on its hindquarters. The same can be found on its shoulder. Now, even though that is weird enough, the fact that the burns seem to be localized to the white patches only, well, that just adds to the mystery. It's not known what exactly caused these burns. Now, the reason why they believe the government is responsible is because many people have seen black helicopters hovering around in their fields near where they would find their dead livestock. The FBI and local law enforcement did some investigating, and many witnesses came forward. That was the only evidence, though. Not exactly sure why the government would have to kill the livestock of hard-working ranchers. I'm sure they could have gotten their own cattle. Natural causes. Scientists, veterinarians, and most farmers believe this is the real cause. The animals just died. Naturally. No conspiracies, no aliens, and no chupacabras. To prove this theory, tests were done using dead livestock to see exactly what would happen during natural decomposition. Here are some of the answers they believe explain what really happened. At most mutilation sites, there was an obvious lack of blood. When the animal dies, the blood is no longer being pumped through the body. Then gravity takes over. It pools into the lowest area in the body. Then it is internally broken down. Many of the mutilated cattle show signs that they were cut, like a surgical incision. When the animal dies, they would bloat, fill up with gas. So much gas that it would tear the skin. Scavenger animals could help with that as well. The FBI determined it could have been foxes. Then the body would shrink as it dehydrates, and it could look like a perfect incision was made. To explain why some of the animals were missing their mouths and in most cases their entire face, parasites and insects will feed on them. and they look for the thinnest layer of skin possible, and that is the face, genitalia, and yes, the anus. The missing eyes and internal organs could be from carrion birds like vultures. I don't think it was the Chupacabra, because that seems to be primarily in Mexico, and that wouldn't explain the mutilations in the other parts of the world. I think the government would be able to get their own cattle, so sneaking in the middle of the night to experiment on other people's livestock sounds like a big risk to me. And like I said before, I'm pretty sure aliens aren't coming all this way just to steal cattle anus. In the end, I'm 99% sure it's from natural causes. I can't be 100% sure because there are some things I just couldn't explain. All the witnesses claiming black helicopters were flying low over their property. So many people complained that the FBI had to do an inquiry about the whole thing. Still, no answer was given. And then we have the cow with the very odd burns. The burns that seem to only follow the white pattern. No explanation of this was found. They at first thought it might be some kind of allergic reaction to the feed, but it wasn't. More recently, in 2018, rancher John Mahan found 2 of his cattle dead. He assumed they were just shot, but he later discovered that they were missing a few pieces. One had an ear cut off, they both had their sexual organs removed, and all of their blood was drained. It was determined that the animals were drugged first, and then mutilated. But by who? And for what purpose? I still don't know what to make of this. Was it aliens? Or was it some sadistic killer? I don't know. And there are many other unexplainable cattle mutilations out there, which is why I'm only 99% sure. Now, I really want to know what you think about this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and then subscribe. Once again, my name is Rick, and if you can't make me believe, it's just make believe. Till next time.